Devlin, Untamed.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
The Platform.
iOS, it's only sport. Martin Devlin, Lachlan War. Today, talking All Blacks. Justin Marshall, just days after the loss to Argentina. Time to calm the farm, time to take a breath, time to prick the balloon a little bit. And just look at the key aspects of that loss. The fundamentals, the set piece going wrong, our exit strategies, and just getting bogged down in those corners. Why can't we fix this kind of thing on the field? How do we get better before Saturday? And where do we need most to get better? Justin Marshall all over that. But how good are the Springboks, ladies and gentlemen? Destroyed Australia. They look immensely physically powerful, as they always do. But what scares me the most is the innovation, their tactics, their ideas. In terms of them and us, well, the gap is light years. Christy Doran, the Raw out of Brisbane. He was there at that test match. ATM episode 95, Mark Watson reflecting on our greatest ever Olympics effort. The Black Caps named yesterday to play test matches against Afghanistan and Sri Lanka. So we had Rahul Patil, our expert on all matters cricket, in studio with us. We were positive with Matt Gunn out of Twizel. And we also spent some time with a man named Michael Warren, who has written a PhD on the Olympic Games and what it means to a country in terms of national pride, feel-good factor, reflected glory, and just how important winning Olympic gold medals and winning Olympic medals and being relevant on the world stage at an event like that is for national identity. We also talked, of course, about Latrell Mitchell, debated, glass half full, about the Warriors and the many issues and problems that the club has at the moment, and answered the question, is $1.17 on the All Blacks versus Argentina a good bet, or is it motivation enough to say, maybe they might just get us twice yet? All of that to talk about. We begin the show the same way every day, which is tablets in hand. I say, gather my flock. It is time for a sermon. All right, Warriors, time for some truth. Let's go to the mountaintop.
We live in an amazing, amazing world, and it's wasted on the crappiest generation of just spoiled idiots.
The Warriors need a rocket, and not from me, from themselves. The club needs one giant reset, needs to decide what it actually is. A PR company selling a marketing message, or a serious NRL side determined to win a premiership? Because right now, the latter is the last thing that they are. This team isn't bad. It's actually a lot worse than that. They're irrelevant. Think about that word. The Warriors are irrelevant. In terms of the top 8, in terms of finals contention, in terms of being talked about, they're not. They are now irrelevant. And a large part of that is because I believe the management is more interested in Instagram likes and funny TikToks and fanboy social media podcasts and rah-rah cheerleading cheese than it is being a professional, title-challenging football team. 2021, we won 8 games. Year after that, we won 6 games. Last year, we won 16 games and got to within 1 game of the grand final. This year, 8 in 21. So that's 3 out of the last 4 years have been monumental failures. And that's the only determinant in the NRL, is how many games you win and whether or not you make the finals. 3 out of the last 4 years, the Warriors have been irrelevant. Unless some kind of miracle happens in the next 3 games, it's going to be another season with less than double-figure wins. And for this team, for this club, for this squad, that's disgraceful. It's unacceptable. It's inexplicable. It's inexcusable. Or is it? You see, this is the thing. I wonder whether the CEO or the owner actually care. I mean, do they really care? Or do they care more about sold-out stadiums and heritage jerseys and opening bars and fanboy social media posts? Do they care more about that than they do wins? What is in fact their core business? It should be winning a premiership. Let's wait and see. Because if they really, truly are serious about that, then this squad doesn't just need a rocket. It needs a complete clean-out, starting with some of its biggest names and most beloved stars. It's very fortunate that Sean Johnson is leaving, because realistically, there is no place for him in that squad next year. Not with the injuries that he carries, not when you look at form over the last 3 or 4 years. I also question Roger Tuivasa-Sheck. Again, really injury-prone. We haven't seen anything of him this year. We've seen some really good games, quality games, but in terms of the guy that was the Dally M medal winner way back when, we haven't seen that guy. We haven't seen it nearly consistently enough. But these guys are incredibly popular with the fans. I look at Bunty Afoa. I'm not picking on anyone here. I'm just throwing some names. Bunty Afoa has played more than 130 NRL first grade games. Yet he's never been a first choice regular for the Warriors. What does that tell you? What does that tell you? I mean, he should be the first name down on the team sheet every week if he's played that many games. Again, really popular player, really popular with the fans. Look, I get it. I get it, and I get that you need these names, and I get that you need a marketing machine. But just by being popular doesn't mean that you win games. There is no popularity column on the points table. There's only wins. And this is where the club have to decide exactly what it is they want to be. Because right now, they're not just a team that's terribly inconsistent. It's worse than that. In terms of winning a premiership, they're a team that's just utterly irrelevant.
Devlin.
What do you want?
We want information. Information.
You won't get it.
The platform.
Headlines, Lachlan.
How do the All Blacks bounce back in the second test against Argentina?
Win.
Well, that's...
Play well and win.
If you want to put it simply, but if you want to make things complicated, like rugby players and coaches tend to do. According to the defence coach, Scott Hansen, it's about the Kiwi coaches and players challenging themselves to look in the mirror and summon the resolve to deliver an immediate response. A couple of quotes here from Scott Hansen just quickly. It starts with the coaches. When you look at performances like that, with the synergy, the game itself, the performance wasn't what you expect. Well, if you expected that, I'd be really concerned, Scott. Anyway, departing New Zealand Warriors enforcer Adam Whenua-Blake is reportedly being lined up for a blockbuster boxing crossover this year.
This is what I... Is this just not what I just tossed off about for about 5 minutes, mate? This is exactly what is wrong with this team.
Kiwi UFC fighter Kai Kara France
God, who
has been
cares?
talking up the prospects of Whenua-Blake.
Really?
This is the stuff you want to hear as a Warriors fan.
I tell you what I
isn't it?
want is I want a reality TV show around it. That's what I want now.
The Melbourne Storm are in talks with Kiwi Sevens player Moses Leo about a possible code switch. Now, if you remember correctly, a couple of years ago, the Storm did this with Will Warbrick, who's now a starting winger for the club. He debuted for the Storm last year, played Sevens for New Zealand, then made the code switch. Looks like the Storm are trying to do it with another Kiwi Sevens player. 16-year-old winger Luke Brooks-Smith has scored a professional football contract with the Wellington Phoenix. Congratulations, Luke. Manchester City captain Kyle Walker says the Premier League is, quote, ours to lose. Ahead of the season kicking off very, very soon. I think it's a week. No, it's this weekend, isn't it? Kicks off this weekend. Excuse me. Man City looking to win an unprecedented 5th title in a row. Speaking of Man City, they've dealt forward Julian Alvarez to Spanish club Atletico Madrid, selling the player for around just over 81 million euros. 5-time Olympic medalist and English diving superstar Tom Daley has confirmed his retirement from diving. And as I look through the sports news websites, not a lot else going on. So that's what's making news, Martin.
Devlin.
Oh my goodness me!
The platform.
Justin Marshall, no one better in the country, I don't believe, to talk rugby, especially the All Blacks, than the 81 Test veteran himself. He calls it for Sky Sport. He is forthright. He is honest, Justin. We appear to have gone backwards since last year. Well, certainly results-wise. We put 44 points on Argentina in the World Cup semi-final last year. They put 38 on us and scored 4 tries in Wellington. So just what is going wrong? What does he see that we're not doing right? And how to fix it in just a matter of days. Welcome to the job, Scott Robertson. It ain't that easy, is it? Here's Justin. In terms of also fundamentals like set piece, I mean, what the hell is wrong with our line out at the moment? We seem muddled again, don't we? And I just wonder whether or not there's just too much clever instead of clear thinking, and just, these are the kind of things that you don't expect from the All Blacks, Justin. I don't expect us to concede a silly try just before half-time, which was a Super Rugby move from Sevu, batting it back, which is unnecessary. Straight after half-time, the Argentinians, they just sprang the bloody trap on us. They kicked for touch, got in good position, short line out. We were sitting there looking at them, we were asleep, and they scored. These are very un-All Black things. Just before halftime, just after halftime. We own those moments, don't we?
Yeah, we do. And traditionally, they are very important moments in any game of rugby, and in particular in a tight test match. The line-out wasn't totally dysfunctional, but it wasn't at its clinical best. And that was very evident, particularly in the last 15 minutes of the test match, where we turned over the ball a couple of times and actually we gave away a defensive line-out penalty when it was an important stage of the game. A few of those little things, and you mentioned the other two, that are slightly going wrong. These are components of the game that when you're in a tight test match, you've got to be accurate because when the opposition are up for it, which they were, you've got to win those moments. And at the moment, those small little errors, it's a lot of that discipline. When we use the word discipline, Marty, when you're reviewing a game, people go, oh, discipline, it's penalties. It's not just penalties. Discipline is handling errors. Discipline is a forward pass. All of those things culminate in you not being able to get into your flow. And I think the All Blacks' discipline in the second half, penalty count at half-time, Marty, was 10 against Argentina, 2 against the All Blacks.
And yet it was 20-15 on the scoreboard. Yeah, that's what I couldn't get. You know, and what did we do with all that extra possession? Obviously, we didn't score points with it.
We didn't take our opportunities well enough, did we? We weren't ruthless enough, and we turned down early kickable points again. And then all of a sudden, when we had them under yellow card pressure, but from turning down points, they had a warning. We took the points. And I was like, well, we've taken 3 lineouts to apply pressure, wanting more than 3. The moment that they get a player called out and get put under penalty yellow card pressure, we took the 3 points. Now that in my mind just didn't make sense. It was like, well, why didn't we just take the 9 points on offer when they were there?
Yeah.
So yeah, some of the decision making and the discipline, in particular in the second half, is what basically got us out of the game, not into it.
Justin Marshall with us, Scott Robertson. So I mean, this is welcome to the All Black coaching job, mate. I mean, it's not Super Rugby. We know that. You've had 4 test matches now. We haven't turned in an exhilarating performance, and you've just suffered your first loss, and it was an unnecessary loss, and it was a loss that was unexpected as well, with massive games still to come this season. What do you want to see from the All Blacks this week? In particular, what do you want to see from Razor's influence on this team?
Well, look, I certainly feel there'll be a reaction. There's no doubt about that. After any All Black loss, you will get that because there will be a very intense review, and you're very aware that the whole country feels let down. And so I feel that there will be a completely different attitude and mindset at Eden Park. However, what we've got to do is not look past what's just happened. You can't retrieve that. That's irretrievable. That has changed history again. And I don't like the comments of the great thing about rugby is we get to play next week.
No, this is the All Blacks, mate. That's BS, mate. This is the All Blacks, right?
Yeah. Exactly. Those words would never have come out of my mouth. I would have been hurting, and I wouldn't have been saying, oh, there's always next week. I would have been saying, well, this is not good enough. It's not acceptable. Yes, they're Argentina. Yes, they were great. Yes, we applaud them and respect them, but we're better than that. And we can't take back what has happened today, unfortunately. And yes, we've let ourselves down and we've let the country down. And, we've just got to be making sure that in the future this doesn't happen again. But what we've done today, we can't get back. And that's reality of it. In terms of Scott Robertson, losing a Super Rugby game, he didn't lose many. You can very quickly move on. You might get a few pissed off people around the franchise area that's saying, oh, we shouldn't have dropped that game to the Highlanders or whoever it might have been. But next week you just get on with it, and it doesn't have an overall massive effect on the country. You lose a test match as All Black coach, the whole country is on your case. The pressure is completely different. It's a type of pressure Scott Robertson won't be used to. So it's a big week for him as well because he's going to need good support around him, but equally he's going to have to work his way out of a situation that he's never been in before. This type of pressure and intensity and scrutiny is completely different to any that he's experienced before. And it'll be really interesting to see his mindset and his reaction from what happened at the weekend as we go on through the week.
Yeah, look, and probably fortunate for the All Blacks that we're basking in the glory of those 10 gold medals at the moment, because just imagine what it would be like if it wasn't that and we just lost that game. All right, let's just finish with South Africa, because you watched that beforehand. And look, I don't want to start glorifying these guys as being supermen and everything else. But Justin, what impresses me, yes, they dropped a test against Ireland, But they've got innovation in that side. They've got, they are thinking outside the square. This is not normal South African rugby. I mean, they go to a test match, they've got Andre Pollard, they're going to kick 5 penalties, they're going to strangle you. But this is a team that's actually trying things. And that's the worry for me, that they're obviously in a mindset where they need to get better, need to improve. And how dangerous is that?
It's very dangerous. The way that they have basically adapted their pattern, because they were a very, again, predictable side. The difference between them and us is they're just very good at what they did, just because of the personnel and the experience that they've got and the players and bomb squad situation from the reserve bench that they're able to inject into the game that just continue to be relentless. But now they've shown the ability to want to use the full width of the field and play a little less predictable. And because of that, man, they look good. I've not seen Jesse Creel in particular play better rugby. The outsides, you got Colby and Orenson but those guys just bat so above their weight class. Like, they're incredible in the air, their ability to take on contact, but then their footwork and speed. Because of the genuine threats they've got out there that weren't really utilised, usually those guys would have to come look for work. Now the ball's coming to them, which makes them even more dangerous. You can see Tony Brown's influence in their passing structure. It's a lot better. It's a lot crisper. They're getting different depth perception. They've got now back runners, second man plays, block plays, and then, even the forward pack has taken on a new lease of life with their line-out innovation. One pod in the middle, back to the front pod, line-out, drive, try, and they very nearly scored from it twice. So, they are frighteningly improving. We're struggling to find our identity and to evolve, which is what we've been asking for, haven't we, Marty? To get better and to take our game to a level where we're not predictable and we are really challenging defences and we're not intimidated by blitz defence. The Springboks have already had a pretty good DNA to win 2 World Cups back to back, but now they are innovators and they are looking more dangerous for it. So you cannot compliment them enough for where they're at the moment as a nation.
To hear the full interview, download the platform at the App Store. Via Platform Plus, you can go back and listen to the whole show and all of the interviews in full.
The Tight Five.
5 separate sporting topics, roughly a minute or a minute 30 on each of those. And when we get reminded, we move on to the next topic. We're talking about Latrell Mitchell. You've probably seen the photos already all over social media. Was he, in fact, doing what it looks like he's doing, or was it a bit of a Hawke's Bay Ranfurly shield where the big boy came along and he broke the shield and he brought all the stuff over it as a joke and he went home and he ran away and nobody knows who it was? Damien McKenzie or Beauden Barrett to start at first 5 this weekend, Lachlan? New Zealand won the Olympics. This according to an article in the Times of England, which says we're ranked number 1 for performance by population. Are you happy with that? Do you like the praise? Does it mean anything to you? Does it make you feel better about being a New Zealander, Lachlan? The Razor doco on Sky. Yeah. I'm starting to think this isn't aging well now. And at the time I questioned it and I did wonder, I thought, okay, is that a good idea? Or do you want to kind of wait till you win a few test matches as All Black coach first? There is going to be a Toyota Kiwi Cup America's Cup tour starting in September. Are you excited, Lachlan, about the thought of going to see the America's Cup again? It's not the first time. All Blacks are at $1.17 against Argentina, by the way, for the second test. What? I want to start with my sermon at the very start of the show where I said the Warriors are irrelevant, Lachlan. And that's the worst word that you can use for any sports team. My Redskins are irrelevant. My Manchester United last year in the Premier League, irrelevant. That just means that what you're doing is making up the numbers. And you can rah-rah as much as you like, and you can talk about Instagram likes and heritage jerseys and opening bars, but we're not relevant. We aren't in the conversation, Lachlan, and that is embarrassing to me. Because that means you're a joke when it comes to the points table and the ladder, and the only thing that you should be looking at is that ladder.
Well, you're not a joke,
Well, this season we are a joke, mate.
Yes, but you use the correct word, irrelevant.
It's insulting to be called irrelevant.
It's like being
but it's the truth.
The Jacksonville Jaguars in the NFL.
Yeah.
You're irrelevant.
So what?
Every now and then, every 6 or 7 years, you might have a good team, but that's it.
Give me, and this is what I want, okay, Warriors fans, because again, this is reality, this is the truth. It's not the club telling us that, hey, we've sold out another game and we're over that. That's not. Since we made the grand final in 2011, run by me where we have finished in the points table every year since then. So that's 13 consecutive seasons.
Do you want the win-loss record as well?
Give it to me.
Okay, 2012, 14th, 8 and 16. 8 wins, 16 losses. 2013, 11th, 11 and 13. 2014, 9th, 12 and 12. 2015, 13th, 9 and 15.
Good God.
2016, 10th, 10 and 14.
What?
2017, 13th, 7 and 17.
What?
2018, 8th, 15 and 9.
Yes.
Then 0 and 1 in the finals. Out in straight sets.
Yes. That's more like it.
2019, 13th, 9, 1 and 14. 2020, 10th, 8 and 12. 2021, 12th, 8 and 16. 2022, 15th, one spot off the spoon, 6 and 18. And then 2023, 4th, 16 and 8, 1 and 2 in the finals. And if you want to count this year, the club's 8, 1 and 12, I believe. Now, that is a total record, not including this year. That's a total record of 119, 1 and 164, which converts to a winning percentage over the last 12 seasons, not including 2024, of 41.9%. Now, if you add in this year,
Yeah, this is grim.
it's 127, 2 and 176. That's a winning percentage of 41.6. Now, those numbers aren't including the finals. So if I add in the finals, not including 2024, since 2012 up until last year, the Warriors are 120, 1 and 167, a winning percentage of 41.7. Adding in this year with the finals, so every game professionally the club has played, every competitive game from the start of the 2012 season up until August 13th, 2024, the club is 128, 2 and 179 and has won 41.4% of their matches since 2012 kicked off right up until now. 41.4%. That's all that matters.
There you go, people. Those are the stats. Those are the facts. Since we made the finals under Stephen Kearney, 1, 9, 8, 8, 6, 16, and now 8. That is endemic failure with one outlying year is what it is. So keep telling me about sold-out stadiums, heritage jerseys, opening bars, and crazy TikToks. Latrell Mitchell. You know, I'm not at all surprised by this. Whether or not drugs are on that table and he's doing it or whatever, I'm not surprised by any of this. A couple of things I'm not surprised by. The stupidity of the players in the NRL. Valentine Holmes did this last year where he waved a plastic bag which looked as though it had a powdery substance in it, took an Instagram photo of himself, but that was just jokes, okay? So I'm going to put this one down to jokes, just like the Hawke's Bay rugby team last year weren't snorting drugs off the Ranfurly Shield. It was just jokes. It was just because that's what these crazy guys do. Because all of us know people in our lives, Lachlan, and what they do. Like you've got great mates who you work with who've got high-profile jobs in your flat, right? And they're good men and they work hard. They've got high-profile jobs. I've got lots of mates who've got very high-profile jobs. And what they do in their spare time and their downtime on the weekends is they line up powder on hard, flat surfaces like it's drugs, and they get their mates to take photos of it. Then they plaster it all over social media just because it's a joke, mate, and it's funny, and you just see when you thought I was taking drugs, it's just jokes. Because that's really real, isn't it? Because people do that every day.
That's what people do.
It's what people do every day.
Just some corn flour we lined up.
Honestly, we do. The reality of this, people, and this is the truth. Having a line of cocaine in Sydney is like you going to the shop and buying yourself a can of Coke. That's what it is. The city is powered and propelled on narcotics like London is. What is the thing they do at London? Every now and again they get 100 notes from 100 different ATM machines and they test them all and they are all positive for cocaine and other drugs, right? The whole city is fueled on it. The NRL is fueled on it, whether people want to admit it or not. But professional sport in Australia is fueled on it. And so whether or not Latrell's guilty or not, I don't care. I'm not interested in it. All I am amused by is the reaction of the media afterwards and his PR advisors and everyone else. Oh, it's just funny. It's just a joke. It's just you got you sucked in it.
Do you remember when Kurt Mann and Kalen Ponga were seen walking out of the bathroom?
Yeah, they were just discussing him buying a house, and one of them was so sick for the beer that
I thought they'd fallen in love and they got a little bit freaky in the bathroom.
That's what I was just thinking. I just thought, okay, yeah.
But in all seriousness about the Latrell Mitchell thing, we all know what was going on in the picture. The thing I feel a little bit bad about, and you got to be tactical about how you do this if you're Latrell and you actually want to not out others, but I guess out others, is that he ain't the only person in the NRL, player, coach, administrator, fan to an extent, staff member at clubs, whatever. He ain't the only one.
All at it.
They all do it.
They all do it, mate.
So
Wendell Saylor wasn't the only one who had cocaine in his system. He was the one that got caught and banned by the Wallabies. There were 5 other guys out with him that night, and he didn't shop any of them. Okay? Now, you can't... It does. Look, we all know. We all know.
Part of me...
we all know. We all know.
Feels bad, doesn't feel bad, but sort of does feel bad because they all do it.
Damien McKenzie or Beauden Barrett to start at first 5?
Beauden Barrett.
So you would make that change this week?
I would
because
make the
Scott
change.
Robertson was asked that question at the post-match presser, and he said, no, Damien's my guy. See, again, I think this is Andrew Webb, the locked-in headline.
Post-match? I listened through. I don't know if he... I think he was asked 2 questions, one around Damien playing, and I don't think he said Damien's my 10. And then there was another question around,
maybe
do you regret selections?
That would be the first time I've been wrong in the last 5 minutes. But I just wonder whether it's Andrew Webster, and he's a bit too pig-headed here, because I think, Razor, you need to make that change. I agree with Justin Marshall. Make the change.
Well, it needs to be,
bring Damien off the bench, and Damien is going to be a brilliant player off the bench. But right now, he's not controlling the test matches like we need him to. And
it needs to be at a point where a loss like that, and this is one thing Ian Foster didn't do enough of when we lost all those tests in 2022 that we shouldn't have. When we lose a test like this, there needs to be serious consequences for that. Players should be dropped. And it sounds a bit strange. Players maybe who supposedly played well should be dropped. Because everyone needs to understand that even if you did your job well, the team lost. So you didn't do your job well because you lost. Yeah. So there needs to be consequences.
There is no consequence, though. The same group of players who've now lost 15 test matches in 5 years still get picked.
Here we go. You started your playing career and played at a high level during an era of rugby that if you didn't perform well enough, particularly in the black jersey and at the Crusaders, you suffered the consequences.
You got dropped.
So let's bring that back. Mm-hmm. Let's bring it back where you control whether Damien McKenzie survives another test. You should tell him this week, sorry, Damien, I'm not playing you because we didn't play well enough on the weekend and you're my first
It was good enough to drop Rico. It was good enough to drop Sam Penny. I think it's good enough to drop McKenzie. New Zealand won the Olympics according to an article in the Times. We were ranked number 1 for performance by popularity. Does it mean anything to you?
Performance by popularity?
By population.
Population. Oh. No, not really. I don't really like. I don't like comparing countries with medal tallies and whatnot. Like the medal table's a bit silly because it's always the same 2 countries, first and second. They just swap every now and then.
Yeah, I'm not interested in the per capita thing.
It doesn't matter. I mean,
that's just us trying to be. Oh, look over here! Look at us! Over here! Look at us! Hey,
look how great we are.
We don't need to. We got 10 golds and 20 medals. Yeah. We're 11th on the table.
Let's just celebrate that. Why do we have to talk about this per capita nonsense?
The America's Cup, you're going to go see it if it tours around the country. The America's Cup, there's the trophy. The America's Cup, the America's. Seen it. Yeah, I've already seen it.
Well, I haven't seen it. I'm just not really worried.
Okay, I've seen it a few times. I mean, is
it the original one? Is it the actual one, or is this going to be a replica?
No, I'm not sure actually because
they wouldn't tour the real one around.
Wasn't the real one in Barcelona where the whole event is? Isn't that?
You'd have to, factor in that a nutter could come and tackle the trophy.
Well, it has happened before. There's a guy took to it with a hammer. Remember, it was only about 10 or 15 years ago.
I don't think it's the real one, so I'm not bothered.
All Blacks at $1.17.
It's a bit generous.
You whacking it?
No.
Well, look, the TAB is always going to set odds like that for the All Blacks because the most money will come in on the All
what
Blacks.
Argentina's paying.
Argentina were paying $7 before kickoff in Wellington.
Oh, my gosh. My flatmate put down money on Sam Darry to get first try scorer.
What?
But he only put down $2.
Oh, okay.
So he got $82 out of it. Let's have a look. Rugby Championship. Yeah, $1.17. Argentina, a $4.60. It's not high enough to put money on Argentina. The All Blacks should win, so $1.17, I wouldn't. No. No.
ATM episode 95. Mark Watson has been our Olympic correspondent right throughout the last couple of weeks in Paris. His thoughts on the greatest gold medal that we won and why. Were there any disappointments in terms of the New Zealand team? Any athletes in particular that he looks at, they could have done a hell of a lot better? What this should be doing to us in terms of a feel-good factor and the importance of the Olympics in national pride. Plus, just overall, I mean, how good? 20 medals. Our greatest ever haul of gold from one games. Watto.
Apologise to me!
Mark, let's start though. Your coverage has been excellent. The text messages have been pouring in saying more of Watto. He knows what he's talking about when it comes to the Olympics. How damn good were we, mate? 20 medals, 10 of them gold, 7 silver, 3 bronze. A record haul for New Zealand.
Oh, unbelievable. Yeah, record haul. I mean, I'll be honest, coming into these games, I thought it might not be as productive as what we saw in Tokyo with 20 medals across the board. But, there's always those athletes that you expect big things that perhaps come up short, and then there are those surprise medals that no one was expecting. And, when it's all said and done, I guess it all comes out in the wash. But it's only when you look at the countries below us on the medal table that you start to realise just how good we are. 5 million people, we're isolated, we're down the bottom of the world. And it's amazing where I think Olympic sports, and this is where, again, I have concerns about the cricket and the rugby and the league in this country, athletes that are paid. And a lot of the sports we're winning, most athletes are in it for the right reasons. There's no money available. Yes, when they win Olympic medals, their endorsements tend to come in, and there is a little bit more financial resource provided by High Performance Sport NZ. But I think the lure of the black singlet and the silver fern and going to the Olympics just actually brings out the true passion and desire in an individual athlete, and then collectively sometimes within the team events. So just an unbelievable Olympic Games. Boy, how much aspiration, how much inspiration. 5 million people. Sport used to be defined in this country by about 4 or 5 sports. It's now defined by about 20. And all of these sports now, that was their shop window. How many young girls are going to take up kayaking? How many more athletes are suddenly going to pick up track and field and want to attempt the high jump or do some whitewater canoeing and look at areas that, historically might have been set aside purely for sports like rugby?
Your favourite gold medal was who and why?
Oh, I think Hamish Kerr for me.
Same.
Look, I said on Friday, I think you asked me, and I said, look, I think he's going to end up finishing just outside of the medals, and same with Maddie Weshi. And I just base that purely on historical heights and what you need to achieve to win. And in both situations, they were actually won at pretty, outstanding heights, but not probably to the extent we've seen in the past. And you've only got to look at the history of the high jump and its place at the Olympic Games to realise that this is one of the big medals on offer. This is a blue ribbon event. This is an event that we don't have a history in. So it's not like we've got a legacy. It's not like Hamish Kerr's following on like we might perhaps have in middle distance athletics, where you're Nick Willis. Well, I'm inspired by John Walker. I'm inspired by those that have gone before him, the likes of Peter Snell. He was there for a breakthrough performance 3 years ago when he finished 10th, and here he is, the Olympic champion.
Amazing.
They build the Olympic Stadium for track and field. It is the blue ribbon event at the Olympic Games, and this is one of the blue ribbon events within the Olympic Games. Arguably, I think the blue ribbon event amongst field events at the Olympics. So I think Hamish Kerr, sport predominantly, historically dominated by the Cubans, Derek Druin of Canada in 2016, obviously Barsham and Gian and Marco Tamberi at the last games. Not an easy medal to win. And we haven't, we've had Dame Valerie Adams win the shot put. We go right back to Yvette Williams winning the long jump. But outside of that, and Tom Walsh clearly went on your men's shot put. We've never really had a strong point of view when it comes to the field event.
No,
so I put Kerr up there in terms of individual gold medals won at the Olympic Games. I probably place that second, just behind John Walker's gold medal in 76. And I give it to John just simply because of the political environment and the boycott and the circumstances surrounding that particular race. But, to truly understand the magnitude of our achievements and the achievements of Kerr, it'll probably still take 10 years for it to sort of sink in and become the legend that I think it deserves to be.
Biggest disappointment? It seems a bit churlish to even ask that question, mate, because here we are celebrating the Olympics, but there are those who will be disappointed. I'm not disappointed in any of our athletes, and I'm not even disappointed in the football ferns. I'm disappointed in the coverage that teams like that get, which is just so overblown and out of whack with how talented they are, or any kind of realism put around what they could actually achieve. If you've made the Olympics, as you've explained to me many times, mate, and you've made the qualifying standard, that's a hell of an achievement anyway. That takes a lot of dedication, and we don't make that qualifying standard. So the fact that the Ferns have to go through Oceania and win every game 15-0, it's that's not our fault, if you like. I mean, that's just what the rules are. It's the same as those canoeing guys, and we had Gash on Friday, and he kind of heaped upon them, and I understand both sides of that argument. But ultimately, when you're sitting there looking at this kind of medal tally, and Lisa Carrington, who now, sits on the same gold medals as Usain Bolt, there's a chance that she could become the second most decorated Olympian ever behind Michael Phelps if she goes to LA in 2028. So it just seems a bit, I don't know, I don't even know whether there is disappointment. Do you have them?
Oh, no, look, I'm not disappointed. I agree. I mean, I've had my issues with, say, our two girls being selected for triathlon. I don't think they're good enough individually, but the team relay has allowed them to go, and I've got nothing against them. They've just simply done what they've been done, and they've been picked under a criteria that's been established by a board or by the sporting body or by the international governing body. I mean, there are athletes that will be certainly disappointed. Sam Tanner in the 1500,
yes, right.
Geordie Beamish will be really disappointed with the way he ran in the steeplechase. They're better than that, but they only really get the one opportunity. And you've got to understand too, there are just certain sports which just have so much more depth than other sports. There are just certain sports which carry a lot more weight. I mean, I still think swimming will be disappointed. I was going back through it.
Cycling, men's cycling as well. I was going to add to that, Watto, because
men's cycling. But look, I'll also say this: the reason why our women do predominantly that much better than the men's is there's still not quite the depth in women's sport there is in the men's sport. The men's sport's just got multiple more layers of competition and depth in terms of trying to get to the top. And women's sport's continuing to evolve, but its evolution is not as long as, say, men's sport, and that's why. If we want to continue to have world champions and Olympic champions, we better to put more resource into women's sport, because I think we do actually have a better chance. And also, I just don't think women's sport's as sinister maybe sometimes as what men's sport is. But, it's just going back to the swimming. You go back to Jean Stewart, who won bronze in 52, and then we haven't really had anybody since Paul Kingsman, Anthony Moss in 1988, and then Danyon Loader with silver and 2 golds. It's 92 silver and then 2 golds. So you look back through almost 75 years of swimming, and we haven't really won a lot of medals. And I guess that's the sport for me that we need to take a long, hard look at. What are we still doing wrong? And I said this to Brendan, we made our swimmers peak 3 times in 6 months. The Australians and the American peaked just once. Why aren't we looking at what the best swimming nations in the world are doing? Why do we somehow think that we've got all the answers when clearly we don't? Look, it's not through a lack of work ethic, our swimmers. I just want to say that. It's not through a lack of work ethic. Geordie Beamish, all of these athletes, they do everything they're right. Sometimes they're overtrained. Sometimes they're overdone. But sometimes they're also victims maybe of a high performance program who've got maybe just a little bit too academic with their approach.
To hear the full interview, download the platform at the App Store. Via Platform Plus, you can go back and listen to the whole show and all of the interviews in full. Rahul Patil is our main man in matters cricket. He covered the One Day World Cup for us last year in India. Casting an expert eye over the Black Caps squad, very strong indeed, to play 3 tests, Afghanistan, 2 against Sri Lanka, and you would presume that most of these names, if they survive injury-free from those 2 encounters, are going to be playing the 3 tests against India. How important are these 3 tests? Is Southee the right guy to still captain New Zealand? The balance of the side and our realistic prospects of winning all 3 of those matches, or if not, well, what would be okay in terms of results taken from Rahul? Black Caps test squad named yesterday to play Sri Lanka and Afghanistan, and in the middle of all the euphoria around the Olympics, the All Blacks losing, the Warriors failing, out comes a cricket test squad. It's just the most weird thing yesterday, wasn't it? It was like, what? What are we? Oh, so we're playing Afghanistan September 9th to the 13th. We've got a couple against Sri Lanka after that, and then we're building obviously towards India. That starts on October the 16th and 3 tests there. So looking at these names, this is a really strong Black Cap side.
It is, yeah. And it has got all the bases covered, like we like to say. We've got all the batters in there, 5 spin options. And we saw in those tests that were last played in Asia, if you remember, Black Caps played against Bangladesh. People like Glenn Phillips and people like Mitch Santner and all of them did really well in those. We've got the spin base covered. We've got the quicks. Willow Rook and Ben Sears both impressive. Willow Rook picking up 9 wickets in his debut against South Africa. And then Ben Sears really impressive against Australia, almost getting us across the line in that.
In Christchurch,
almost. It's good to see that they're getting reward for that performance and are going, but then different conditions. So it's not likely that everybody's going to play in that 11. So Matt Henry's still, the leader of the attack. And then I think they'll rotate between Southee, Willow Rook and Ben Sears as the second seamer. But then obviously the spinners will get a go as well. So yeah, all bases covered, looking good. Just the lack of red ball cricket is something that's again going to be a question mark, in the sense that they're not leading up playing a lot of red ball cricket, although some of them are over in the UK playing in the county championship, which helps. But again, completely different conditions.
Well, here am I, and I can sort of be flippant about it. I mean, are we going to turn up on time? Are we going to get any warm-up matches? We've only had months to organise this. Are the players going to need a holiday in between these things, or are they actually going to turn up and play for their country? Of course, and I've got every right as a fan to ask those kind of questions. Tim Southee is captain. Look, the old warhorse, we've loved him and we've loved what he's done for New Zealand and everything else, but I'm never a fan of anyone hanging on too long past their use-by date in professional sport where the object is to win. It's not a farewell tour. And we're seeing this with Sean Johnson as well at the moment. And look, he deserves every single minute of it, Rahul. I understand that. But at the same time, the Warriors have won 8 games. And what do they want to do? Finish the season having won 8, or is it about a celebration to him? And so you kind of get this confused crossover. And I feel the same with Southee. Is he legitimately our second best strike bowler and the best man to captain our country right now?
Great question. And I've got an opinion on this, because I feel that a captain should be the first pick in your side.
Same. I'm always with that. Football, rugby, I don't care. He's the first name down on the team sheet.
Yeah. And in Southee's case right now, in Asian conditions, it's not a given that he is in your best 11. And Gary Stead's already said this in the press release that New Zealand Cricket released yesterday, but he put a slightly different spin on it, because he said we are going to manage his workload, etc. But I think, reading between the lines, it also means that there could be a game where he's not featured in your best 11, which means that he's got to sit out, which is why then they've named a vice captain in Tom Latham, because you are absolutely sure that he is going to play every test match. Look,
Southee's hanging on for those 3 England tests. That's what I feel. This is this bookends his career beautifully at home. He wants to play those tests, doesn't he?
Yeah, and look, in home conditions, straight away gets picked.
Yeah.
And he's bowling well. I just read that he picked a fifer in the 100.
Yeah, I saw that the other day. I don't know what that means. I mean, this is 100 balls. But any time you get a 5-wicket bag as a bowler in cricket, you got to celebrate that. So he's obviously bowling okay.
Yeah, you bowled 20 balls and 5 of those is picked wickets.
Yeah, there you go.
So for 12, which is fantastic, And look, massive Tim Southee fan, but I'm not one to say that people should be overstaying their welcomes. There is a time, and he'll know. I mean, your body tells you stuff, your mind tells you stuff. But as you said, maybe it's the England test, maybe it's beyond that. Time will tell.
Scott Hansen, defence coach of the All Blacks, related to Shag Hansen? I think he is. He looks as though he has a...
Does he?
Does he?
I don't think so.
He's a short, squat man from Canterbury.
Pretty tall.
Well, not that tall.
He's like 6'2", 6'3".
Is he?
Well, coming from someone who says they're 6 foot but isn't actually 6 foot, yeah.
Okay.
If you're 6'2", it's pretty tall.
Scott Hansen, anyway, fronting the press. Several quotes from him in reaction to the keys to staying tight as a group after a loss like that. What?
Honest review, honest conversations, opportunity for us to see our game where we can be better. We've looked at our week last week around our preparation and the performance. So we'll just come through our review process. What that looked like is good conversations around where our game is, where it needs to be, where the learnings are, and what we've been given is an opportunity for us to respond. And we talked around what that needs to look like in our game for this opportunity coming in on Saturday.
I hope they're gutted. I absolutely hope they're gutted. And I want to see a response, like all Black fans want to see a response, and normally we do. And I'm hoping that it's going to be like 2022, that we bounce back after losing in Christchurch and give them a bit of a shellacking at Eden Park. Because we have to. Because if not, we are in a trough. Have you nailed down the reasons? Because, and I say we're in a trough because we've gone backwards even since the England tests, have we not? And we've gone backwards since this time last year and backwards since the World Cup with essentially the same group of players. So what does that come down to? Well, it's a new set of coaches. Is it that easy to 2 + 2 and blame you? Have you nailed down the reasons why things just aren't clicking?
what we're engaged around is the quality of our skill sets, the execution of our roles, certain areas of the field and what that looks like, and also the ability of the components of our game, the synergy, our defence to our attack, our set piece, and the synergy there. So again, back to the conversations around where the opportunities are for us to be better. And to be honest, we have those conversations after all performances. This is a performance that we need to correct around our intent and basically us as a team making a stamp on the game.
We need to correct around our intent. God, they're all just so management speak driven these days, aren't they? What does that mean? We need to correct our I don't even understand those words. How do you make sure the players' heads don't drop? And this is a dumb question to ask because you're the All Blacks. For God's sake. You know, you don't even need to be spoken to after a loss. You go out there and you kick out, and then, don't you? Isn't that just why you wear that jersey?
Oh, the men, you let them feel it.
How binary of you.
You let them feel it, and because they care. So you give them the time and space to feel that. And we still are. There's hurt there, and there should be. And then as we get into our week, and that started with the review this morning, as we get into our week, now's the process around from that learning, where's your engagement around opportunity to be better? What does this look like as a team? But first and foremost, as an individual, where were you? What are your learnings? Where can you be better?
God almighty, I'm not being disrespectful here, but where are your engagements around learnings to... What do these words mean? How do the coaches react after a loss like that?
I think it starts with the coaches. Like when you look at performances like that, where the synergy, the game itself, and the performance wasn't of the standard that you expect.
No.
I think the first thing you do is look at yourself as a coach.
Okay.
How did you help prepare the individual? How did you help set the team up? So we've had those conversations as coaches around what does our week look like, and then from that we move into for care for the players. Where can we be better for you here? What do you need? What does it look like around a game? As a coaching collective, we met yesterday, we met this morning, we always talk about our game, how our areas of our game synergise and connect, so that's really important.
There's a lot of synergising, isn't there? Yeah. I honestly, I mean, if your coach is standing in front of you and talking about in language like it's been talked about, how much of that is getting in and how much of that is gobbledygook and double speak and management cliche lines and things? Just, yeah. I mean, look, the coach means well, and he does, and I bet he feels it like we all feel it. But these are just stock standard media replies, aren't they? And I'm not so sure that, I don't know, they're not inspiring me that, you know, where's the rev that says, hey, we're going to get up and we're going to smack Argentina. We need to be better on the field. We need to sort our goddamn line out. You know, we need to stop crimping and crabbing across the field. We need to figure out the exit strategy when they pin us in the left-hand corner with Talia and TJ. You know, we need to out-muscle our opposition. We need to start winning the breakdown. We need to start converting the chances that we have. We need to actually be smart. Well, that's the final question. What are the specific areas of improvement that we need here?
If you look at facts and you take out the emotion,
it is an emotional game, though.
In our own half, our efficiency of getting out of there wasn't good enough. Argentina were allowed to apply pressure on us, and we didn't respond well enough in that area of the field. So what does that look like? The efficiency, the understanding of us getting out of our half better to play. As we got into the Argentinian half, the facts show when we applied pressure, we came away with points, but also our skill sets at times let us down with the execution. So that'll be our focus.
LBP with TMG. Twizel's Matt Gunn joins us every Tuesday. Matt Gunn. Are you related to Raygun, the breakdancing phenomenon from Paris, who either embarrassed, insulted, or exalted Australia? So much feedback, most of it not that nice. As an Aussie, what do you think, Matt, of Raygun's, I'm not going to say performance, I'm going to say lack of in the breaking at the Olympics. Obviously, your cousin, Raygun, who has just caused a worldwide storm with... I mean, if you and me pulled those moves out at my 60th birthday, the audience would be leaving. So what can you say about this woman and what she did in breaking at the Olympics?
Mate, I loved it.
Oh,
I absolutely love the girl Raygun. And, we share the same last name. We actually have pretty similar moves. And I just can't believe the storm that this has created. I mean, creative. We've thrown in the kangaroo. We've done the crippled platypus. She's had a couple of wombat moves. I've been watching for the last hour the online response to my girl, B-girl Raygun, and honestly, I just can't get enough. The one thing that has struck me as a little bit strange is that she's not only being criticised for her performance, but for wearing a uniform. Now, isn't that what we do at the Olympics?
Yeah, you think
Everyone
so.
else has got a
Yeah,
uniform
that's
on, and all of a sudden she wears the tracksuit, which almost every athlete will speak about in interviews, the pride that is delivered to them by wearing the silver fern, the black jersey, the green and gold, the springbok, whatever it is. She wears an amazing Australian tracksuit, and she's criticised for it. The moves were creative, they were artistic, they were new, they were different. She's not trying to fit into the same mould as everyone else. And she will never be forgotten in my mind. 2024, with the hands up and the leg raised, the kangaroo hop, I think that will become a staple in breakdancing from here on in. Not that it will ever appear at the Olympics ever again.
I agree with that, and I think that anyone who hits the dance floor in the next week, 2 weeks, 2 months, or whatever, if you're not pulling the kangaroo, the platypus, well, then you're not pulling. The wallabies. Well, I mean, I could, as I said, I could heap all over you here, but I can't because the All Blacks got out-muscled, fought outdone by Argentina. But that was woeful, Matt. That could have been 60 points, easy.
Yeah, look, I was getting ready to Tracy, my wife's 50th birthday party on Saturday night. We checked into a hotel in town, and I flicked on the game and watched for about 10 minutes, and then I flicked it off. They were out-muscled, they were out-sunk, they were out-thought. They were nowhere near close enough, and the saddest thing is that we've got to go again on the weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, it might have been a good start for Schmitty's Wallabies coaching career, but there's a bit of a low light pretty early on in it as well. There's not much you can say about it. South Africa did look very big, very strong, and they may be the team to beat at the moment as things look in this the Rugby Championship. But the All Blacks, mate, wow.
Yeah.
I don't think I have seen a more broken coach than Scotty during the press conference. He just simply did not know what to do. And I think the only thing that'll bring him back is when they do win, get down on Eden Park and do the kangaroo as part of his breakdancing routine.
We'll wrap it up with the NRL, and I mean, you know, let's look at. I have given it to you hard over the last however many years, because for 20 years it has been since you actually made those finals. 2004, and you have been a team that has underperformed and has been rubbish most of that time. This year, though, you are doing what the Warriors did last year. It's just extraordinary, mate. And every time I watch this team, I think, my God, they look as though they can get better. Are you feeling the same?
No, I do feel that, and I feel as well. We've got four more rounds in the NRL. If we're going to need to get a couple, you know, to set ourselves up in a decent playoff game. But I just feel like we are getting better. I mean, we looked pretty good at the start of the season, but there have been moments and games over the last few weeks where the dedication to stopping other teams scoring has made all the difference. In previous seasons, you know, it's been like an open door policy. Run it our defensive line and through you go. This year, we dig deep, whether we're in the opposition's half or whether we're on our own line. We're very difficult to score against. And then when we do get the ball, it's just an excitement factor. There's a free-flowing spirit to this team that is why every Bulldogs fan in existence is just rubbing their hands together. I still get a little nervous before each week, even though I know we're playing so well. There's always that thought that we're just going to fall back into how we were, but I don't think that's possible anymore. And I've said it before, the captaincy of our side has made all the difference, and the pressure off other players who were in the captaincy role has seen them play better, and then everyone lifts. When you're around guys who are doing such good things on the field, I suppose it's hard not to be inspired. I am going, hopefully, I'm off to Australia at the end of the week, Marty. I've got a couple of weeks on holiday, and I'm hoping to get to Accor Stadium in a couple of weeks to see the Manly Bulldogs game, because we'll be in Sydney getting ready to come home that weekend. So, listen, I haven't been to a Bulldogs game in Sydney for decades. And if I can get to one, I'll be doing everything I possibly can to be there. I just want to be a part of it. I want to see it live. And then I'll be home for the finals, and I reckon we can make a run.
That's our podcast for today. Thank you so much for listening. If you want to listen to the entire show, 1 till 4, Monday to Friday, download the Platform app, and via Platform Plus, you can go back and listen to whatever shows over however many weeks at your leisure, at your listening pleasure. Platform Plus. First thing to do, though, is download the Platform app.
Devlin.
Unbelievable. Incredible.
The Platform.